Welcome to another edition of Vigorously with me, Val Kleinhand's alternative hard rock duo, Plastic Rhino, is in the building. How are you?
Oh,
Doing
yay.
excellent. Thank you. How about you?
We're good. We got 4 inches of snow dumped on us today,
Woo.
and we're navigating that because that's kind of like the first big like snowfall, quote unquote, by Minnesota standards that we've had this season so far. So we're
Okay.
getting used to it. It's like it's here. Welcome. We just embrace it. It's what we
Just
do.
in time for the holidays.
It really is. Like
Coming from
it let us
California,
know.
I've heard of snow.
Oh, well, yeah, let's chat about that. Okay, so your origin story, what sparked your music interest in music to begin with?
I'll let you go first.
Uh,
Yeah.
so pretty much my parents were music groupies. They weren't really musicians, but they were groupies in that they just like went to a lot of rock concerts, followed a lot of bands around the world. So like when I was born, music was just always playing.
Hmm.
MTV came out the same year I was born, so I'm old. And literally I always just say MTV music videos raised me. Like I would just
Yeah.
watch the music videos for hours on the television and dance in front of the TV apparently ever since I was a little child.
Yeah, and for myself, I grew up without cable, however, so I was introduced to MTV as an adult, actually. And then
Ah.
um, my introduction to music, I grew up with Beatles, Elton John. Then my dad introduced me to Led Zeppelin, Van Halen. And it wasn't until I saw my very first actual concert, seeing Metallica live, and that was just
What a
life
first concert.
Yeah, the lineup was Deftones, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, Mudvayne, opening for Metallica.
Oh my,
That's
well, that didn't suck. Thanks for
oh
making
no.
me jealous. Peak 99.
Well,
Yeah.
back then, things were cheaper, so.
Exactly. Cover the
That too. Yeah, that's a
$25
whole.
ticket for all those bands.
Mhm.
Oh my God. Well, and you two have been doing your thing with Plastic Rhino for a minute. I mean, have you observed some of those changes in just cost and what's important in the industry in the time you've
Yes.
done Plastic Rhino? Tell me about some of that. Tell me about what you've seen.
It's definitely hard to keep up with the ever-changing music industry. When we started, like we met on Craigslist. Craigslist was like how you would find band members back then,
Hmm.
and how you would book a lot of shows too. And now it's all social media, social media, social media. So you have to be a social media expert, a PR expert, and a musician.
Hmm.
Right.
And a social media manager. Like you wear a lot of hats as a musician these days, that's
Yeah,
for
when
sure.
we were first starting out, just having a band page on any social platform was a step ahead of everyone.
Hmm.
That was fantastic
Mm.
to do. But now these days, you have to be posting content, new content, seems like almost 3 times a day just to maintain relevancy.
Hmm.
Ugh. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot, but I mean, we're creatives anyway. I'm sure there's part of the process that we enjoy. The part of
Yeah.
the process that you just enjoyed was the recording process. You did this not too long ago. If I'm correct me if I'm wrong, y'all are based in LA and
Yes.
from LA. Okay. So this is what makes that interesting. You have come from LA, your new single I Rise. By the time this comes out, it's going to be out, by the way. You could have
Yeah.
easily recorded this at home in
Yes.
LA, but you go to England to do
Yes.
it. Is a
Yeah.
little bit of the backstory there. Why? Why would you
um
make it that hard on yourself?
so the Real World Studios, the world famous Real World Studios in Box, England, is like the most amazing recording studio in the world. It's an old mill that was turned into a recording studio, and the giant room, their main like room where their console is, and all the vocal booths, just overlooks this body of water. Peter Gabriel built it, I believe in the late 80s,
What a pedigree.
1989.
1989. What's
Yeah.
that?
I said, what a pedigree.
Oh yeah.
Just,
So, and he wanted it near a body of water. So you just the main room of this recording store just overlooks this gorgeous body, like this pond, and it's just the most serene, beautiful environment. So they do this producer camp 2 times a year where you can be any level, but you just kind of have to have like a basic knowledge of how music recording works, and you just get to go there and use their entire facility and write a song in 3 days. So it's like a 3-day writing intensive. and you get to, you know, work with the best producers and musicians on the British music scene. They all come and they're like your teachers and, you know, your cheerleaders and helping you create this song. So it was kind of like, we have to do this at some
Yeah,
point in our lives. So, you know, what better time than now? So that's
I
what we
know.
did.
That's
Well, another.
intimidating to like have a British person to scream at you too. So I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I could have braved that. Like, yeah, I don't like they're so proper and so perfect and so like the
Mhm.
diction is
Yeah,
fabulous. I'm like, I don't want to disappoint you. We're
it was really intimidating, and they were all absolutely lovely and so kind, like the
Mhm.
nicest people, but still very intimidating. Yes.
so I Rise is essentially the product of that camp. Is that
Yes.
right? Okay,
Yes.
Mhm.
fine.
Yes. So
What do
we
we need to know most about the song? You know, the lyrics, what you're most excited about. Give me the whole story.
Well, on a broad level, I know some people went into this producer camp with preconceived ideas. Our first intention was to go in with a preconceived idea because we wanted to knock this out of the park. We did hash out some ideas, but at the end of the day, we were just like, you know what, let's just be influenced by our environment. Because, you know, if we come up with something here, like you said, we could record it here anytime we want to.
Mhm.
So to make it truly special and kind of be influenced by our environment. We wanted it to truly be a product of that location and that
Mhm.
time. I've always looked
Hmm.
at songs and albums and such as like time capsules almost. That's why I'm never a fan of like remastered old albums. I know it might
Yeah.
sound better, but that's how the artist wanted it to sound at that time. So that's the way it should be presented, in my
Mhm.
opinion.
Is
Mhm.
there anything that reflects the environment sonically, specifically like water type sounds or peace or
We were definitely like trying to hone in on the dark British, new wave,
mm,
modern rock sound, you know, that came from there,
hmm
and working with, you know, some of the people, the teachers and musicians that were there. You know, we had Adrian Utley from Portishead. He played synths on our song, and uh, New Order, producer of New Order, producer of Tears for Fears. So we were when I saw the list of all of these people that were coming to work with us, how could you not be influenced by those bands a little bit? So, you
of
know, we were
course.
trying to like tap into that a little bit, but we're such California kids that I feel like we didn't quite hit it, but I feel like, you know, that this is like the poppiest song that we ever wrote, and it's not as dark as I thought we could go, but um you know, still has the cool British beats, I feel like, in the British darkness and the weather and the moodiness of that
Hmm.
countryside, but it's just so beautiful and cold and clean. Oh my gosh, the air was so clean.
Unlike the smog that we're used to seeing until like 11 a.m. when the sun creeps through and then
Yeah.
it burns off. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Like I love LA, don't get me wrong. I really, really do. I lived there for 2.5 months while I was doing an internship at Rhino Records over in Burbank.
Oh,
And that was the one thing that I noticed about the city. I was like, is it just overcast? Because I'm from Pittsburgh originally. And I was like, is it just overcast like every morning here? Like, what is this? Because by every afternoon, it's not. It's sunny, it's gorgeous. They're like, no, that's a smog. And I was like, you're joking. You're joking. It's that bad. They're like, yeah, that's what
yeah.
it is. That's kind of our thing. Like, no wonder you distract yourselves with all the pretty things, the
Yeah.
music, the entertainment business. It's like, I
Yeah.
completely
Because
understand.
you're living in dirt. Yeah.
Yes. So we, you know, you put your heart and your soul into making this. You go to the producer camp. You spend the time in England. What's the feeling when you come home? Are you proud of what you've done? Do we want to do it again, or is it like, I don't know that that's for me?
I wanted to toss my passport in the river so I couldn't come back home.
Yeah, we literally did not want to come home. The only reason we came home is because we have the two dogs, unfortunately. But if we didn't have the
That's
dog,
important.
I think we would have just stayed and like crashed at Real World Studios and be like, we live here now. Seriously. It was just, yeah, it was just the most amazing time. A lot of the participants in the producer camp return. So like some of them, this was like their third or fourth time doing it, and now I see why. It's just, I don't know, it's just so magical there, and the recording studio is just so magical, and it's definitely a once in a lifetime thing. People like Beyonce and Kanye West and oh my God, everyone in the Robert Plant
Icons.
records there. So it was like we have to like go see this place and see like what it's about. And now it's like, okay, now we're spoiled rotten. I don't know if we can ever go back to.
Yeah, I can see why Peter Gabriel wanted it erected next to a running body of water because there's something about like the energy field there.
Hmm.
It's all positive and it's different and something about it.
Yeah, they say the
California.
same thing about Muscle Shoals in Alabama where Skinner
Mhm.
recorded. They're like they say
Oh
the
yeah.
same thing. There was literally something about the swamp and the swamp water that would like seep through if it rained enough. Their basement that
Mhm.
I heard, I was like, oh my God, I mean, somewhat musically minded. I'm like the equipment, no, but
Right.
but then the sound, but then the sound is obviously undeniable. Those, they
Yeah.
became hits for a reason. You can feel it.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but Plastic Rhino has kind of like taken breaks and come back to each other and taken breaks and come back to each other. What keeps you two coming back to each other and making music together?
Great question.
Well, we're always doing music, whether it's this project or another.
Yeah.
Um, because we're musicians, we do the cover gigs a lot, and that pays the bills. Um, so you do long bouts of cover gigs where you're just constantly learning and playing other people's songs, and it kind of gets to a point where you kind of have to like relieve this tension of like I need to speak my own voice.
Hmm. And that's where the feeling of I need to take a break comes in. I need to do my own thing for a minute comes in.
Yeah, yeah, because with anything like there's only you go as far as you possibly can, and with Plastic Rhino, after every album, it's so much work making an album, putting it out, playing shows, all the PR stuff, all the money you throw into it, and then like you only go so far without a label, obviously, and you get burnt out, and it's kind of like, okay, I need a break now. Like, I don't even
Yeah.
want to think about my own music. I'm just gonna go play other people's music. So
Yeah.
it's kind of
Well, to your credit though, you do it like pretty damn well. I was watching some of the Janis Joplin clips, the Janis Joplin
oh,
tribute band clips, like online earlier, and I was like, wow, Atara's voice is really unique, and it does fit Janis's iconic songs. It
thank
really,
you.
and I'm like, wow, that must be a lot of fun for her. So, is there enjoyment in doing cover projects too? Because some people gripe about it. They say, it's just something I do. And then some musicians love it. Where are you two on that?
I love it.
I
I
love it too.
Anything with music, I love. I love singing. I'll sing anything. Yeah, I absolutely love it. And like the Janice project is like, trying to emulate her, but also trying to keep it yourself as well. And her stuff's so hard to sing too. It's definitely like a challenge, and
Yeah.
I like the challenges. I like challenging myself with new music and learning new songs, and it's fun. And doing cover gigs, you do like, you're like, oh, you constantly got to learn new stuff. So we're keeping our brains young, pretty much.
Yeah, and I especially enjoy the gigs where I'm constantly learning stuff that I particularly wouldn't listen to on my own,
Mm-hmm.
because then
Hmm.
because when you as an artist when you create your own original material, you're kind of like outpouring the sponge that you are, the things you've absorbed in the past.
Mm,
Even the things that you normally weren't influenced by, you're gonna pick up something
Mm-hmm.
that you like from that thing.
Yeah,
It'll come
hmm.
out eventually.
Yeah.
absolutely.
I love that. Is I Rise going to lead to a full album? Is it going to lead to an EP? What do you think is coming next?
So in this modern world of music, it's like you just kind of now release singles.
Yeah, kind of going back to
So
Yeah.
the first question, one of the first questions you asked, like how things have changed.
yeah,
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 it's not an
that's
albums
the
market
thing.
anymore.
Yeah.
It's we've
Yeah.
done the albums and the first five songs will get a lot of attention, but the other five or six, they don't get a lot of attention. So unfortunately, all that work, gets looked over, and
Yeah.
you want to give them all the attention they can.
Hmm.
Plus, I think I'm not part of the majority, but I feel like the majority of listeners of music these days listen to playlists,
Hmm.
and they're
Mm,
picking the songs they want anyway. So if you put out singles, That's the way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that we're trained to listen that way. I don't know why, because I'm not a musician, but if I were, I would feel kind of like how you were saying, man, I put all this effort into something and it ain't even doing nothing. Like,
Yeah.
I put all my time and my effort and my money into this project, and maybe half of it was even acknowledged.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So do you walk away feeling that way? Like, okay, maybe it's just not worth the effort to do a full album anymore, and you're comfortable with doing singles.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, as much as I absolutely love an album, that just slaps from top to bottom and you listen to it over and over again, like, unfortunately, this modern world, it's just better to release singles and, maybe you combine them into like a little EP thing, like a 3-song or 4-song EP. But albums are dying, which is really
Well,
sad.
from a marketing
Yeah.
standpoint too, back in the day it made more sense because back in the day you're making the trek all the way to Tower Records,
Yeah.
Walmart, or Target, wherever it is.
Hmm.
And it's like, we're gonna make it worth your time. We're gonna give you 12 whole songs for your trip.
Yeah,
If
and
you want right
badass
here
cover
at
art
home,
too.
you can pick whatever you want. So
Yeah.
Right. And the cover art that you can get cited for. I was the nerd that would read the liner notes and
Oh,
read
yeah.
like and read the lyrics and be like, oh, this thank you that they wrote about, yep, that's their wife and that's their kid and that's their like I would be the nerd that would watch behind the music and then compare it to the liner notes and be like, oh, that's that person they were talking about. I get it now and I feel like I know them and they're my friend and really they have no idea who I am. They're like, why is this 11-year-old in Pittsburgh watching VH1? She shouldn't be, but she is.
no,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
remember correcting people on lyrics because I'm like, no, I remember sitting at my boombox
You
with
were that guy.
yeah.
And he will catch mistakes in lyrics that are like now on Google. Like I'll be singing a song. He's like,
Oh,
"What are you singing?" I'm like, "That's what it says on the Google, lyrics." And he's like, "Well, that's not right. That's not what's on the CD." And I'm like, "Oh my God." I
have
don't
you ever
even
had to
remember
correct
those.
somebody when they sing your own lyrics and they get it wrong?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So
But
what?
gently and kindly, of course.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's definitely a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, we know I Rise is out. What's next? What can we look forward to coming from you?
So we've got another song already in the arsenal that we're finishing up. So that will probably come out February, I think, maybe around Valentine's Day. It's a
Okay.
song about stalking, so I feel like it's appropriate for that time of year.
Totally.
Yeah. And then at least do one more single for this year. So
Cool.
maybe two more. We'll see. You get a little slap happy in the studio sometimes, so you never know what comes out. One song, two song, five. You never know.
We're always
Yeah,
trying new ideas and approaches too, and
Yeah.
kind of branch out from our general sound.
Yeah.
mm,
The alternate tunings on the guitar, the way we use drums, real live drums versus electronic drums, and
yeah.
just trying all sorts of different things and approaches. It's all
It,
fun.
it yeah, it becomes your chemistry lab. Get me behind a production board and I'm like, what did they do? What did they do? What did the buttons do? Let's find out.
Right.
Let's play. I
Yeah.
I
Next with
completely
I
get
Rise,
it.
we actually work backwards from the way we normally write. Normally we have like a hook or a chorus ready to go or a riff. But when we wrote I Rise, we started drums first. We came up with a beat
Ooh,
and
okay.
then a vibe, and then a bass line came to me, and it just developed from there.
Yeah.
I love that. There's a ton of different, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to write,
Mm-hmm.
pun intended. There isn't. I've heard
Don't agree
numbers
about it.
of musicians just doing things completely different ways.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's amazing. Like, there's only 8 notes to work with, but it's like all the different songs out there with these 8 notes is just incredible if you
Yeah.
think about it, and the different sounds that and all the different melodies that get stuck in your head.
Hmm.
It's crazy. And so, yeah, there really is no right or wrong way with music, I feel like.
Is that
Just
what you would tell young musicians today? Just go
yeah,
for it.
absolutely. You got to suck before you rock. So
Yes.
start somewhere.
I love that. Plastic Rhino, you have been a pleasure. I cannot wait for the release. We're all stoked. We'll pay attention on socials. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so
Thanks for
much.
having us.